In last class, we have discussed the radius and velocity of an electron revolving around the nucleus in any nth orbit, right? And we have defined radius to be coming out to be radius we defined as r is equals to n square h square upon 4 pi square k z e square m. That's what we have defined. Now after that we defined velocity as well. Velocity, it was coming out to be, velocity we defined, it will be coming out to be nh upon 2 pi m into r. So if I put this expression of r into that given formula, we are going to obtain expression for velocity as well, correct? So that I could write it as nh upon 2 pi n square h square m into 4 pi square k z e square into m. That's what we are going to obtain. So I could write velocity to be coming out as 2 pi k z e square by n h. That's what we could write here, correct? These are the expressions for radius and velocity we have discussed. Then I gave you few problems to solve. After going through those problems as well, good evening. So after going through these problems, we could even define the time period for revolution. We can define the length of single revolution. We can define volume of a particular orbit. Like these kind of things we can define very easily, right? I would start with the one particular problem, and then we will move on towards calculation of energy. The only part remaining here is energy. Guys, please you don't have to draw these arrows. Now here, let's start with one problem. Question: calculate number of revolutions made by electron revolving in second shell or orbit of hydrogen atom.
Sir. Sir.
Yes. Yes, say. What happened?
I underlined it, sir.
You underlined. Okay, no problem. It's okay. Just calculate, just solve this problem. Calculate number of revolutions made by electron revolving in second shell of hydrogen atom. Okay, just do it quickly. You have 30 seconds. Your time starts now. Yes.
13.3
Angstrom. Number you have to give me, no? Number of revolution. There is no unit for number. Sorry. 6 point. You are not audible, beta. Five six into 10 to the power 15. Okay. Anyone else? Your 30 seconds are over a long time ago. Like 3-4 minutes ago, your 30 seconds were over. And still I'm getting only one answer. You have to improve your speed a little bit. 8.9 into 10 to the power 4. That is a very small number. Still I have to check. Once you check your calculations, Likita, I mean, there might be some unit you have missed. Maybe Armstrong or something like that. Because it will be coming out to be a huge number. See, now let me know that how many of you have no idea how to solve this problem. Just raise your hand so that I can give you some hint. Okay, Vihari. See, I'll first give you this idea that how to solve this problem. Guys, pay attention. Stop writing. Stop doing everything. Okay. So here, let's say this electron is revolving around the nucleus in this orbit. This electron, its velocity we have defined. Now, distance traveled in one revolution, that will be distance traveled in one revolution, that will be 2 pi r. Correct? This is distance traveled for one revolution. Now, time taken for one revolution, that is the distance traveled upon velocity. Distance is what? Velocity into time. So 2 pi r by v, that we can define. R for this orbit we know. This is r. 10 to the power minus 12. No, beta, it is a very, very, very small number. Electron, it is revolving with very high velocity, and the distance it is going to travel, that is very small. So number, it will be coming out to be very large. Let's see first. So basically what we are obtaining, r by v, so basically for time period, this is time taken for one revolution, that will be time taken for one revolution. You will try to define, you will try to derive a derivation for that also. You will see whether time is directly proportional to z or inversely proportional to z, whether it will be directly proportional to n, means number of orbit or number of shell, or whether it will be inversely proportional to nz, like just like we have defined for r and v. Yes, Javeli. So that's how we can define time taken for one revolution. This is time taken for one revolution. Now number of revolution, let's say in 1 second it goes for n number of revolution. Okay, very good, Likita, that is correct. So in 1 second, let's say it makes one revolution. So for one revolution time taken is this. So 1 second will be n into t1, that I can write as 2 pi r by v. This implies n value, it will be coming out to be v by 2 pi r. Everything will get cancelled out, correct? So basically it is coming out to be v upon 2 pi r. Expression for velocity we know, expression for radius we know. You just have to put the values and you'll get answer for these n number. Or basically, see, I can define this is number we have to define. It will be just opposite of angular frequency. Angular frequency is 2 pi by t. That's what we are doing here. Is that correct or not? Angular frequency, that is 2 pi by t. T is time taken for one revolution, correct? Like that we can define this expression. Now everyone get answer for that and check whether it is coming out to be 8.9 into 10 to the power 14 or not. All of you quickly. So you can see in 1 second how many revolutions one electron it will be doing around the nucleus. It's that fast, right? Like imagine that electron to be one planet. Just imagine. Okay, and one day is one revolution, let's say. Or let's say we are talking about revolution, not rotation. So for us, like if we are rotating around the sun, then one rotation is 1 year for us, correct? Now let's say something is present on that electron, some human being or some living thing. Now for them, this one revolution, it will be equivalent to 1 year for them. Now for us, the time which is 1 second, for us that 1 second time, it will be how many years for that species or that electron. We can imagine this much, correct? That is first part. Now for us, lifespan is average lifespan, let's say 60-70 years. In 60-70 years, an electron around that nucleus, it will have how many years? That we can imagine. Relatively, just think about it. You might have seen such concepts in some various movies, right? Similarly, assume for this universe as well, like our planet, it is revolving around sun. Let's assume it to be a large atom for someone else. This planet, it is so small for those kind of gigantic figures that they cannot see us or they cannot observe us, but let's say they are trying to study us. For us, our lifespan, it is 60 years. For them, that will be maybe hardly hardly microseconds or some fraction of seconds, correct? Because here you see these many years are on this electron, that is 1 second for us. This is even greater than if I convert it in terms of years, it will be even greater than lifespan of earth, like around 4 billion years. Sorry, half life of uranium is around 4 billion years, so some few half life of uranium has been passed. So lifespan of earth itself is in billions of years so far. So think about those gigantic figures. For us, our lifespan is nothing. Is it clear? You don't have to think too much about this. I'm just giving you a basic idea that how quantum mechanics can be so typical. Okay, so we are not going to do research on this particular part. I'm just giving you a basic idea about it. Okay, so it is not part of our syllabus, so we won't go further. Let's move on towards our next part, which is energy of that electron. Okay, so let's talk about energy sorry energy of electron in a nutshell. I write total mechanical energy. I can write it as sum of kinetic energy plus potential energy. Here I write this TME means total mechanical energy, and this stands for kinetic energy. We know how to write kinetic energy, half of mv square. This PE, I write it as electrostatic potential energy. Basically it is potential energy of a charge system. Here we are having a charge system, electron and nucleus, right? So for them we can write it as minus k q1 q2 by r. Why I am writing minus k q1 q2 by r, that I'll discuss first, and will define that why this energy, it can be even negative. Okay, that's what I'll be discussing now. So here I'll first start with this part where I'm writing a negative value. Okay, let's imagine there is a charged particle, or first let's say I start with the gravitational potential energy. I think you might have sorry
Once show previous slide.
okay, this one.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I'll first start with the gravitational potential energy. I guess many of you are familiar with gravitational potential energy. Gravitational forces and electrostatic forces are quite similar to each other, but problem being gravitational forces are only attractive in nature, while electrostatic forces they can be attractive as well as repulsive, because mass we consider of only one type, positive mass, right? While charge, it can be positive as well as negative. So electrostatic forces, they can be positive as well as negative. So I'll first start with this gravitational potential. See, or gravitational work or mechanical work I'll be discussing. See, as well as I'll be talking about stability. So here let's say there is this is ground, and there is this ball present on ground. Right now I will define some reference, because potential, its absolute value cannot be calculated. Later on in thermodynamics I'll explain, while in physics, in so many chapters in physics you'll go through this particular part of potential, that you cannot you do not define absolute value of potential, you will just define potential difference. So in order to define a difference, we need to take some reference. Means I'll take some reference that at a certain point potential is considered to be zero. Let's say I consider ground, potential of ground or potential energy at ground, I consider it to be zero. Let's say here I write potential energy is zero. If I lift this object up to some certain height, this, we can say that its potential energy now, it can be written as mgh. Is that clear? Now work is another form of energy. Work is another form of energy. Here I'll say that this potential energy of this object has become mgh. Its energy has been increased. If energy has been increased, now let's say if I'm holding this object in my hand, whether that object it will be stable or not, because if I remove normal reaction from my hand, this object again it will fall down. First of all, this relationship between potential energy, here delta u I write, potential energy, delta u in this case, that will be work done, that is coming out to be positive, that is work done on system. Now work done, we can define this dw can be written as f dot ds. Force is acting as in downward direction as mg force. You are acting against mg force for h distance, ds. Okay, both are acting in same direction, so this dw it will be coming out to be mgh, or work done comes out to be mgh, which will be change in potential energy. So here if potential energy you have considered to be zero, here it will come out to be mgh. Or alternatively, if I write here potential energy is zero, then if I bring this object at this particular point, its potential energy it will be written as mgh. Means here if potential energy is considered to be zero, now if it move from here to here, what will happen? Its potential energy it will decrease. If its potential energy is decreasing, if energy is decreasing, basically work is done by the system is doing some work. For example, right now you are having some energy of 100 unit, and you want to release some energy, or let's say in terms of weight, if we talk, right now let's say my weight is 70 kg and I want to make my weight to be 60 kg. What I have to do? I have to lose 10 kilogram of weight in order to gain stability.
Sir, speak loud.
Okay, so here in order to gain stability, we say that it need to lose some energy, this particle. So it can lose some energy, so that its potential energy it will decrease. This negative sign of potential energy means this system it is doing work, or it is losing some energy. That's what we are going to say. Okay, so if it is losing energy, it will become stable. Or if energy decreases, in simple words, it is an universal thing. I'll suggest you to remember this statement. If potential energy decreases, stability always increases. Will you remember this particular statement? That whenever potential energy will decrease,
Sir,
things they will gain stability. Clear? It will be a universal statement in all the chapters. For example, whether I will be discussing chemical bonding, whether I will be discussing thermodynamics, whether I will be discussing electrochemistry, or even in physics also, you can use this statement, that if potential energy decreases, which mean that particular object for which you are decreasing the potential energy, it will gain stability. Clear? So this was about gravitational potential thing. Now I'll talk about electrostatic potential. So here I'll start with the charged particles. So here if I take this positive charge plus q, if I take this positive charge plus q and there is this negative charge minus q separated by a distance of let's say infinity. If they are separated by this distance of infinity, force it will be 0. Potential energy we consider it to be 0. kq1 q2 by r, potential energy that will be considered to be 0 in this case. Correct. Now these two charges, if they are brought at a certain distance of r, at a certain distance of r, there will be some force of attraction here, force of attraction, that you can write it as k q1 q2. Here let's say I write q1 q2 I write
Yeah, square.
by r square, and potential energy, this electrostatic potential energy, I can write minus k q1 q2 by r. Again f dot ds you can write. Is that correct? So its potential energy, it is decreasing, which mean if you bring a charge from infinity to a certain distance to a positive charge, potential energy it will decrease, which means stability it will increase. Smaller the magnitude of smaller the value of potential energy, more will be the stability. That's what we are saying right now. Correct. So how these things they will be useful for us, that we will understand in this particular part, okay, of energy. So I'll clean this one. Yes, Harsha. Better speak bit loudly. I cannot hear you. Vamshi, you are saying something?
Nothing, sir.
Okay, no problem. So here now I'll start with that energy thing, and we will understand that what will happen and how we will define energy of different species. Okay, let's start. I'll clean this one. It won't be part of the notes. Okay. So if you want to take screenshot, you can take screenshot. Done. Now that energy part, let's come back. So here we are writing total mechanical energy is sum of kinetic energy plus potential energy. So I can write this total mechanical energy as En, energy of electron in nth orbit. That I'm going to write it as half of mv square, mass of electron, into velocity of electron in nth orbit, or let's say plus minus of k z e square by r. That I can write. Now we have we know the mass of electron, we know the velocity of electron in nth orbit, we know the value of k, the z of that particular atom, value of e we know, value of r for a particular orbit, that we know. We can put all these values to get answer, or that get the value of energy. Is that correct? Or we can write that here either you have to put value of v and r, or what you can do, you can just remember, if you recall that first formula which we said, those centrifugal forces and electrostatic forces which you balanced, we said that kz e square by r square was equals to mv square by r, if you remember. Isn't that right? R to r I can cancel out, so I'll just write this kz e square, I can write it as mv square.
Yes, sir.
if I multiply by half to both hand side, right hand side, it will become kinetic energy, and this is what, negative of potential energy, isn't that right? So minus of half of potential energy I can write as kinetic energy. Is that correct? That is one of the expression you try to remember. It is a standard question for an electron revolving in nth orbit. Magnitude of negative of half of potential energy will be equals to that of magnitude of kinetic energy. Correct? So if I put this expression here, I could write En can be written as kinetic energy, half of mv square, that can be written as minus of half of k, sorry, my mistake, half of k z e square by r minus k z e square by r. Is that right? Just think about it, whether it is correct. Correct only. So can we write it as minus of half of k z e square by r? That will be energy of electron in nth shell of nth shell of that atom, that we can write. Correct. So now you observe, energy we are getting as a negative value only. We can define why energy will be negative. Energy of electron in any shell, it will be coming out to be negative. It will be coming out to be a negative value, which means we can say that electron, it will always be stable in comparison to that of infinity. At infinity we are getting this value to be 0. At infinity, if I put r is equals to infinity, then energy of electron, it will be coming out to be 0, which means there will be no influence of nucleus on that particular electron. Means there will be no force of attraction or repulsion between nucleus and that electron. That means energy of that electron because of nucleus, it will be coming out to be 0. That's it, right?
Sir, please speak loud.
Okay, beta. So this negative value, it indicates that electron revolving around nucleus in nth shell, it will always be stable, this negative value, which means whenever we are going to take an electron from infinity and we bring it to any nth orbit in that atom, whether it is in first orbit or second orbit or third orbit, potential energy, it will total energy, it will always be coming out to be negative value, which means that electron, it will always be stable. Is that clear? In comparison to that of its position at infinity. Means if you are bringing it from infinity to nth shell, it will always gain stability. That's it. That's what we are trying to say here. Now the magnitude part, this is the qualitative part, means we can define that whether it will gain stability or not. Now the magnitude of this energy, that's what we want to define. So here what we have to do, we know the value of k, we know the value of z, we know the value of e. We have to put value of r. Expression for r we already know. Is that correct? Now if I put this expression of r in this expression of energy, what we are going to obtain, we are going to write energy, it will be coming out to be minus 1 by 2 k z e square upon n square h square upon 4 pi square k z e square into m. Isn't that right? So let's simplify this expression. See this 2 will get cancelled out. This expression for energy, it will be coming out to be E is equals to 2 pi square k square
minus 2 pi.
1 second beta, e to the power 4 m into z square upon h square n square, and there with a negative sign. Isn't that right? That will be the expression for energy. Now here
Yes,
we
sir.
know the value of pi, we know the value of k, we know the value of E, M, H. These are all constants. Z square upon n square. So this I can further simplify, and I can write E is equals to minus C3 Z square upon n square. Or we can write this energy of nth orbit. En is directly proportional to minus of z square by n square. This is the formula which you have to remember if you can do that. Okay, now this value of C3, if I have to calculate, that will be coming out to be, we can put these values so that we can define various expressions for energy. I'd like to write here. E is coming out to be minus 13.6 z square upon n square electron volt. You are going to check whether it is coming out to be correct or not. Second, I'll write in terms of joules. Electron volt, I have already told you, 1 electron volt is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joules, right? Now this energy in terms of joules, if I want to write, that will be minus 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 z square upon n square in terms of joules. I'll suggest you to remember this formula, because for one atom we will be defining energy in terms of electron volt, because we are going to take very small units of energy. Okay, for the time being you just remember that energy of electron is minus 13.6 z square upon n square electron volt. Any confusion, any doubt in getting this expression?
No, sir.
Okay, very good. Just go through it quickly so that
No, sir.
okay, let's take one or two problems. Let's start. Question number 1. Calculate energy of first 5 orbits of hydrogen atom and or calculate energy of electron revolving in first 5 orbits of hydrogen atom, or just first 5 orbits you can calculate directly. Okay, and energy of electron revolving in n is equals to infinity. Question number 1. Question number 2. If energy of electron revolving around nucleus in third shell of helium positive is x, then calculate.
Sir,
Yes,
that n is equal to infinity in first question.
yes. N is equals to infinity. What will be the energy?
Zero, sir.
Very good. Of course it will be 0. There will be no influence of nucleus on that electron. Then calculate the energy of fifth shell of hydrogen atom. in terms of x. You have two problems and 2 minutes. Yes, Likita.
First,
First one.
E1 equals to minus 13.6, E2 equals to minus 13.6, E2 equals to minus 3.4, E3 minus 1.51, E4 minus 0.85, E5 minus 0.544 in electron volt per atom.
Very good.
Sir, second question answer is 25x by 9.
25x by 9. I was getting 9 by 25x. Just check if you have done any mistake.
Yes, sir, 9 by 25, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All of you. Done. All of you. Now I'll try to put these energies on energy level diagram so that I could discuss two important phenomena here. Let's say I write n is equals to 1, energy will be minus 13.6 electron volt, or K shell I'll write. Okay, then here I take let's say n is equals to infinity, E will be equals to 0. Then I'll write n is equals to 2, E will be minus 3.4 electron volt. I write n is equals to 3, energy will be minus 1.5 electron volt. Correct. Next I take n is equals to 4, energy will be minus 0.8 electron volt, like that. Correct. And then I can write n is equals to 5 and energy will be in this manner. You observe either with the help of formula I can write. Here we are saying energy is energy is directly proportional to minus of z square by n square. So as this value of n, it will be increasing. As this value of n will be increasing, this value 1 by n square, it will decrease, but there is this negative sign. So as this value of n will increase, this value, overall value, it will also increase. Is that correct or not? So as we are moving up in the orbits, the energy, it is keep on increasing. Here minus 13.6, this is the minimum energy, and the maximum energy will be at n is equals to infinity, means that will be ionization of that electron, means that electron, it will not be part of that particular atom. That's what we are saying. Correct. That is first part. Now you observe that the energy difference between first and second, this is for hydrogen I am defining. Same thing you can do for helium ion, lithium ion, beryllium ion, etc., any single electron species. This first shell or first orbit, it is also called as thank you, Likita. Now here this ground state, this first orbit, we call it as the ground state. See, for example, in that potential energy thing, gravitational potential energy thing which I was discussing, that time we were saying that the state, the potential energy of that ball on different floors of an building, if I have to find, ground floor, it will have least potential energy. Similarly here we will say that the orbit with the least potential energy or least total energy, that will be called as ground state. So this first shell or K shell, it is called as ground state of that electron. Remaining states, they are called as excited state. Why excited state, we will discuss in short interval of time. Now K shell, L, M, N, like that, these shells, they are denoted. Now if I observe the energy difference between first orbit and second orbit, the energy difference between first orbit and second orbit, that is even more than that of energy difference between all the remaining orbits, that is between n is equals to 2 to n is equals to infinity. There are infinite orbits. The energy difference between these infinite orbit will be less than that of energy difference between first and second. That we observe. That energy difference, I'll write here, is coming out to be 10.2 electron volt. This energy difference I obtain as 10.2 electron volt. Similarly, if we observe the energy difference between n is equals to 3 and n is equals to 2, the energy difference which we are getting here, that will be even greater than that of energy difference between n is equals to 3 to n is equals to infinity. Any confusion, any doubt? Same thing, the energy difference between n is equals to 3 to n is equals to 4, that will be greater than even n is equals to 4 to infinity. Like that, this energy, it will vary. That is first part. Now you see, you are standing at ground floor, and you have one ball in your hand, and you want to make that ball reach at first floor. What will happen? Let's say there is this ball, you want to make this ball to reach at this first floor. Now what will happen? How you will make this ball reach at first floor or second floor or third floor? Basically you have to supply energy.
Giving some energy.
Yes, of course. If you are going to give it some energy, its energy, it will increase. Means, let's say right now its energy is 0. If you have supplied some even energy, now it will reach up to certain height where its energy is even. And same way, if you supply 10.2 electron volt of energy, right now its energy is minus 13.6, its energy, it will become equals to minus 3.4 electron volt. So it will reach at this first orbit. Here one important thing which we need to understand, here comes that important part which I told you at the time of limitation of Rutherford's model, that introduction of this term stationary orbit. Means, guys, pay attention here, don't get confused. Okay, so here if I am supplying energy less than 10.2 electron volt, what will happen in that case? See, again, this is the first floor. If you supply some amount of energy so that this ball it can reach at this particular point, now under the action of gravity, what will happen? This ball it will fall down, it won't reach at this stationary position. Is that correct or not? If it reach at first floor, it will be stationary. But otherwise, sometimes it happens, no, you are standing at ground floor and your brother or sister they are standing at first floor or second floor, and you have to throw some object. So many times they won't be able to catch that object. What will happen? This object it will fall down, because that position up to which it reaches its highest energy level, it won't be stationary, it won't be stable, so it will fall down, it will de-excite. Means if you are supplying 9 electron volt, it will reach at a certain point here, then what will happen? Again it will fall down at its ground state. Is that clear? Any confusion, any doubt?
No, sir.
But if you are supplying 10.2
No, sir.
electron volt, it will reach at this n is equals to 2. Now what happen if I supply energy greater than 10.2 electron volt but less than this difference? This is coming out to be around 12.09 electron volt. So let's say if I supply 11 electron volt of energy, so it will reach here somewhere. So after reaching here, either it can gain further more energy. How it will gain energy, how it will lose energy, that also I will discuss in very short interval of time. Okay, so after reaching this position, either it can gain some energy to reach at n is equals to 3, or it can again fall down to any stationary orbit, either n is equals to 2 or n is equals to 1 once again. Is it clear? Like this was first floor, you have thrown a ball, it will reach here and then it will fall on the first floor. So now it will be stationary. Or either if it don't cross that partition wall, it will again fall back on the ground. Like that it will happen mechanically under the action of gravity. In case of this electrostatic field, what will happen, that also we need to understand. So in case of that 11 electron volt, if you are supplying, so either it will reach at n is equals to 3 by absorbing further more energy, or releasing some energy to fall at this stationary orbit, n is equals to 2. Any confusion, any doubt? Now this process,
No, sir.
No, sir.
sorry, okay, so here this process in which electron present in lower energy level orbit, if it absorbs some energy and move into some higher energy level orbit, it is called as excitation. So what is excitation? The phenomena in which an electron from lower energy level orbit absorbs some energy to move into higher energy level orbit, it is called as excitation. It will get excited, right? Now this electron present here, it will absorb some energy and it will reach into higher energy level orbit. This is lower energy level orbit, and by absorbing this energy it will reach into higher energy level orbit. Similarly, if I'll just clean this whole part. So this phenomena I can write here is called as excitation. This phenomena, it is called as excitation. Similarly, if there is an electron present at higher energy level orbit, it is present at higher energy. Now if it loses some energy in order to gain stability, so a phenomena of moving an electron from higher energy level to lower energy level orbit by releasing some energy is called as de-excitation. So what is de-excitation? Movement of electron from higher energy level orbit to lower energy level orbit by releasing some energy, that is called as de-excitation.
Sir, means it emits energy out.
Yes, it will emit some energy out. Now here one very important point we need to remember. First I'll write these definitions of excitation and de-excitation. I'll write for excitation, de-excitation you can write by your own, right? So let's say excitation phenomena in which electron from lower energy level absorb
energy
some energy to move
to higher energy level.
in higher energy level is known as excitation. Similarly, you can write de-excitation as well, right? Now here one very important point: this absorption or release of energy in process of excitation or de-excitation is done in form of photons. Means energy absorbed, it is also done in form of photons. Means energy will be absorbed in form of photon. Basically what will happen here, this electron present in lower energy level orbit, it will absorb this energy in form of some photon. Similarly, energy it will be released in form of photon. Is that clear? It will not be in form of heat, it will not be,
Yes, sir.
it can be in form of heat, but problem being, see, in that case calculation part it will become a bit difficult. Right now we are assuming that this absorption or emission, it will be done in form of radiation, because it is not necessary that there is a medium for conduction of energy. Generally for heat, for sound, medium is required, but photon or whenever it is done in form of electromagnetic radiation, no medium is required, so energy it can be emitted or it can be absorbed easily. Is that clear? Any confusion, any doubt?
No,
This
sir.
part is clear to everyone? Yes. So here, so it will be done in form of photons, correct? Here I would like to take one more thing, that this energy difference, just think about it. This photon, at the time when this de-excitation it will take place, this energy difference it will be equal to the energy of photon or not? Isn't that right? Means I am saying that if an electron de-excite from n is equals to 3 to 2 or n is equals to 4 to 2, this energy difference it will be equal to the energy of emitted photon. In case of de-excitation, photon will be emitted. In case of excitation, photon will be absorbed. So these two cases, they are clear to everyone, I suppose. So I could write, I can even calculate this delta E. First I will go through this delta E. Let's say here, if de-excitation takes place, let's say one example I am taking, and de-excitation takes place from n is equals to 3 to n is equals to 2, or let's say I'll write n is equals to 5 to n is equals to, let's say, 3, like that. Okay, so here the energy difference we need to define, delta E, that will be energy of photon emitted Is that correct or not? Correct only. So this delta E I need to define. This delta E will be E2 minus E1, and that I can write as E2 minus 13.6 Z square by N2 square minus of 13.6 Z square upon N1 square. That we can write, or simply I can write minus 13.6, that too in electron volt, minus 13.6 Z square 1 upon N2 square minus 1 upon N1 square electron volt. Or you can even write minus 13.6 in case of hydrogen. If it is hydrogen, let's say, Z value it will be 1, so it will be 1 by 25 minus 1 by 9 electron volt. Any confusion, any doubt? Is that correct? We can calculate energy difference in this manner. That must be equals to this E is equals to h mu or hc by lambda. I'll just write it as delta E. So I could write delta E will be equals to h mu or this delta E. Delta E we can calculate. Now I have told you that way to calculate this delta E. Delta E, it can be even written as hc by lambda, or lambda I could write as hc by this delta E. hc again it is constant value, so lambda it will be inversely proportional to delta E. Higher the value of higher the difference in energies, smaller will be the value of wavelength. Is that correct? Any confusion, any doubt? So we can calculate wavelength associated with any excitation or de-excitation. That's what we can do. That is the first part. Any confusion, any doubt? Or you can even write expression for that. Lambda it can be written as hc upon minus 13.6 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 1 upon n2 square minus 1 upon n1 square meters, if you put everything in SI units. Is that clear? Any confusion, any doubt?
No, sir.
Clear? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next, here I'll this is one of the part. Now today what you will try to do, you will try to simplify this expression. Next class we will discuss about that. Here I'll try to take a few things, then we will move on towards next class. Okay, so here one important definition of ionization energy I want to give you, so that it will be helpful in order to solve problem. Even though we will discuss ionization energy, just give me 1 minute, Vamshi. Even though I'll be discussing this ionization energy in detail at the time of periodicity, but I will give you a generalized definition of that ionization energy here itself. Yes, now you ask. Yes, Vamshi, ask your doubt.
Sir, when electron moves from N1, moves from first shell to third shell, the energy will be positive or negative, sir?
Energy will be see, it's the sign, it just indicate whether work is done by the system or work is done on the system.
Okay,
This part right now you will get confused, that's why I am not discussing with you. Basically when you are calculating wavelength, energy difference it will be positive only. Whether you are moving from 3 to 1, in that case energy it will be emitted. Now that you can consider as positive or you can consider it negative. That is in relative term. That basically that sign is assigned by us. correct, so that we can define whether if negative work means system is doing work, positive work which means work is done on the system. So these signs we are assigning. Okay, there is no standardized way for this positive or negative part. Okay, so just be careful while solving. Let's say even if you are getting negative value, that will give you magnitude between these two orbits. That's it. So what you have to do, you have to consider that negative value, when it will come, negative value will come when you will move from 3 to 1,
Yes,
which
sir.
means the energy is being released.
Yes, sir.
If you are moving from first to third, means you have to supply energy will be absorbed. That's it.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Means this E2 minus, even if you do, that will be coming out to be a positive value.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Now you can understand, right? So
Yes, sir. Understand.
okay, now I'll give you one definition of ionization enthalpy or ionization potential. Ionization enthalpy or ionization potential. See, it is amount, try to remember this definition. Okay, amount of energy required to kick out most loosely bounded electron from isolated gaseous atom. This is definition of ionization enthalpy. For time being, if you can remember this one, that is fine. Otherwise, I'll just discuss it in detail. Right now, I'll just give you a clear idea that what does it mean. See, why we are writing most loosely bounded electron from isolated gaseous atom, because later on, right now already what we have done, we have taken hydrogen atom. Hydrogen doesn't exist in form of atomic hydrogen in our nature. It exists in form of molecular hydrogen. Okay, so if you are trying to figure out the amount of energy in order to release that electron, then first you need to break the bond between hydrogen atoms. You have to break the bond in that molecule. Okay, that's why I am writing isolated gaseous atom. These things they are not important right now. Right now what we need to understand is see, most loosely bounded electron from isolated gaseous atom means the electron present here. See, from this ground state, this is the most loosely bounded electron, the electron present in lowest energy level, right? Only because hydrogen or hydrogen like species, when we will discuss, only one electron will be there. So basically we are kicking out electron from first shell. So ionization potential from ground state we will be calculating. Or let's say if it is present in excited state, I forgot to mention here, of course, valence electron in multi electron species, because here we are having only one electron in hydrogen or hydrogen like species. Okay, so here if it is ground floor or if it is ground state, this will be excited state, this will be excited state, this will be excited state with respect to this one, because here electrons they will get excited to move into n is equals to 2 or n is equals to 3 or n is equals to 4, like that. Correct only. So this is called as ground state, n is equals to 2, or L shell, that is called as first excited state. L is equals n is equals to 3, that is called as second excited state, fourth excited, fifth, like that. Okay, so ultimately the excited state where there is no interaction between nucleus and electron, that will be called as this ionized state. So ionization is what? It is exciting an electron from this ground state or from any state to ultimately at n is equals to infinity, so that there is basically ionized, atom is ionized, means that electron is now not part of that atom, means there is no influence of that nucleus on that electron will be there, means that electron, it is free from influence of that nucleus. Force between these two, that will be 0. potential energy, that will be 0. Total energy, it will also come out to be 0 for that electron. Is that clear? So now ionization potential we can calculate easily. That will be this delta E from n is equals to 1 to n is equals to infinity. That delta E. Correct? That is one more definition. Now let's come back on this particular part. So wavelength for these excitation and de-excitation we can calculate. Now if I ask you to calculate wavelength of light required to ionize an hydrogen atom, or required to ionize electron from ground state of hydrogen atom, or first excited state of hydrogen atom, or n is equals to 3 or n is equals to 5, that you can calculate. I'm just asking this question as yes or no, because these kind of questions will be there in Avasti. I'll suggest you to go through these problems. Is that clear? Can
Yes,
you
sir.
solve these kind of problems?
Yes, sir, we can solve.
Up to whatever part we will be like today is what, Friday, right? So up to Bohr's model it will be there. Okay, de Broglie and Heisenberg uncertainty principle, they will not be there in exam. So up to whatever we will be able to discuss today, that part will be there in exam. Okay, now let's solve one or two problem. Question number 1, calculate wavelength. So yes, calculate the wavelength of photon emitted when first an electron de-excite from first one, n is equals to 2 to n is equals to 1. Second one, n is equals to 3 to, or let's say here I take 4 to n is equals to 2. Check whether it is coming out in UV range and whether it is coming in visible range. That will be your homework. Is it clear? Yes, Likita.
Can't we solve that constants?
Sorry?
We have an expression for wavelength.
Yes, we have 1240 by
They-
lambda. Sorry, 1240
They-
by this delta. Directly I'll give you that